statement so you understand my actions and my reasoning the night of the shooting. My medical disabilities. I've had 25 knee surgeries on my right knee. Ended up having multiple replacements and then a catastrophic failure due to an allergy. I went back to having another knee replacement, and I was burned during surgery. And so I had gotten very ill, and my knee literally goes backwards. I had a laminectomy of my lumbar spine from the accident in 2019. I was back-ended at a stoplight, and there was a horrible complication. My dura from my spinal cord actually healed onto my actual spine. So when they went to do the correction, give it a little more space, the dura tore. I was leaking cerebral spinal fluid, and he had to do an actual spinal cord repair. They didn't know if I would walk again from that. I've also had left with nerve damage to my lower legs and feet and have diminished feeling and numbness. And I've fallen twice because of this. And I fell the first time in 2019 and had sustained internal injuries. I had bruised my lung and I had gotten a ganglion cyst on my right wrist. The second fall was November 2022. I fell because I walked into a bathroom. The light was supposed to come on and it never came on. And there was a toilet paper roll with the actual cylinder inside. And so it rolled out from under my foot and I fell backwards. And I had torn my rotator cuff and muscles in my left shoulder. The 2019 accident also impacted my cervical spine, and I lost feeling in my hands and had to have therapy. I had horrible migraines, terrible neck pain, and was going through all of this. And so I also have cataracts in both eyes, and the one on my left is progressing faster. So it looks like I'm going through Vaseline on a lens. And I have some heart issues and high blood pressure. And there's a reason why I'm telling you all this. I have carpal tunnel in both hands and muscle loss and diminished gripping capabilities. The first time I encountered Miss Owens was February of 2022. I was about 7 weeks after the neck fusion, and she basically attacked me. And she threw the sign at me, and I thought, what is going on here? I didn't expect to be confronted like that. And I had a huge red scar on my neck at that point in time, and she's screaming at me, and she keeps coming closer and closer and closer. I'm backing up, and then she's trying to rip the cell phone out of my hands. Finally, I had to, say, you're trespassing, you really need to leave. And she picks up the sign, and she says, what, this fucking trespassing sign, and throws it at me. This is where she hit me. And I still have the red mark where she hit me. I've never ever dealt with someone who was that violent that quickly. And so I was terrified of this woman, literally terrified. I've never had anyone, the first time I've met them, throw something at me and get so physically abusive. And, sorry. People are saying I wasn't afraid. I was horrified. And when she was banging on that door, it was just so loud in the house. I could not hear what she was screaming. And then I found out the children, who said they were right there, actually were around the corner of the apartment, over 100 feet away. How could they hear anything? So I don't understand. And the prosecutors knew the children lied. They found the children in the lies. They said I threw skates and I hit them. That didn't happen. The prosecutor knows that didn't happen. That's why the charges were dropped. I've just been flummoxed about this whole case. I don't understand. I understand I have PTSD, but this woman kept coming after me. I had approached her because I was watering my plants, and she's going, "Oh, there's a crazy old white lady." And I'm like, you can't just go around saying someone's crazy. I mean, it was insanity. So I went to say something to her, and she verbally attacked me again. She's like, you've been calling my kids racist names and stuff. I said, no, ma'am, I have not. And she kept getting angrier and angrier. The more I said no, the angrier she got. So finally I said, I was terrified. I mean, she went from a very relaxed position to the position here. I could see her neck veins starting to bulge. Her pulse is really getting, fast. And I'm thinking, she's going to beat the hell out of me right here in the street. So I said, listen, I'm sorry. If that's what you think I said, I'm very sorry. I don't mean to offend anybody. I didn't say it, but I'm sorry. I went to walk away, and she's following 1 foot behind me the whole time to my apartment till I slammed the door in the face. Again, never had anyone do anything that aberrant in my life. Like I said, it's been a nightmare. Then Detective Smith says that Isaac had come, was one of the 3 children. I told him no, but he still put it in the report that this child was there. The child was never there. I have never spoken in my life to Isaac. Just haven't. I knew him by his association with his mother. Never spoke to the other little girl, and never spoke to the little boy Titus. Israel, I did speak to. He has been unbelievably rude, and it was a few days before Christmas 2022, and he was trespassing, and I'm like, all alone, nobody cares about you, you're worthless. And I'm like, oh my God. I didn't expect this from a 9-year-old child. And so I finally said, you know what? We come into this world alone, we leave this world alone, get used to being alone. And he left. And next thing I know, she comes back, and she's screaming and banging on my door. I'm like, what in the world is going on? You can't talk to my child that way. I said, ma'am, you need to leave. And so she was banging and banging. She breaks the door frame. She broke it so much that she bent the actual strike plate, and I couldn't lock the door, and I couldn't open the door correctly. I was like, if she's going to do that to my door frame and break a metal piece, what is she going to do to me? I also have from that same fall when I was on the toilet paper, I have an aneurysm on my left kidney artery. I'm not supposed to be getting excited. I'm not supposed to have high blood pressure. This woman is terrorizing me. I mean, she is absolutely terrorizing me. If she hits me, she will kill me. Literally, she will kill me. I will bleed out internally. I will exsanguinate. So, was I terrified? Absolutely. And just, as far as the kids saying I said racial slurs to them, it never happened. I just never said them. I have never talked to London. I have never talked to Calix, Jareth, or I keep saying, but Isaac was the other one. I have never spoken to him. Isaac, I knew. The other 3, I would never have known they even lived in my neighborhood. As far as the child, Israel's concerned, he said I called him a slave. I have never called anyone a slave in my life. Not an adult, not a child, just something I wouldn't do. And to say that I called him the N-word is ridiculous. I've never called anyone the N-word. And I don't know where he's getting this from. I don't understand. I was married to a non-white man. He was actually Middle Eastern, brown skin, and someone had called him a sand nigger and a camel jockey. And I was highly offended. And I would never do that to a child, ever. And I sang professionally in New York. I did jazz and the blues. I sang for Charles Gamble, Ernie Susser, and I had voice coach Jim Gassett, who had people in Dreamgirls, Miss Saigon, Les Mis. And I sang with Larry Woodard from the Metropolitan Opera. Larry is black. Charles is black. Our pianist was black. Most of the girls who sang the blues and did jazz were all black. I never had a problem with a black person in my life. This is not about race. And I actually love children. I have taught horseback riding lessons, dressage and hunter equitation. I've taught swimming at summer camp. I was a big sister for Big Brothers Big Sisters. And if it wasn't for having cancer, I had uterine and ovarian cancer in my 30s, I would have had my children. And it's one of the reasons why I had issues with the gentleman I was with, because he wanted to have another child, and I felt I was stopping him. That said, I would like to make a statement to AJ's mom, children, and friends. It is with heavy heart and great remorse I write this letter to you. First and foremost, I am so sorry that I took AJ's life. I never intended to kill her. The night I shot that gun, I was confused as to why she was screaming and pounding on my door. I had an idea that Israel told her I had hit him. I could not understand why she was so angry. And she truly scared me. Now that I know he told her I hit him, I am just profoundly sad. Not only did a mother die, but a daughter and a sister. I think of your family's loss and know how hard it is to lose someone you love. Not being able to see that person, look at that person, or just talk to that person is such an empty feeling. I so wish I could go back and change things so that she was still here. I would trade my life so that she could be here, if it were possible. I know that you have all suffered from her loss, and I have prayed for you and your family during this time so that you can, that God could help you. Nothing I can do will change the outcome. I can only tell you I have cried and I feel horrible for my actions. Please accept my humble and sincere apology for this tragedy.
I think I've pretty consistently over the last 17 years sentenced the same, pretty much on the nature of the offense, whatever the person's prior record might be, and whatever I think they may do in the future. I think that's pretty much how I do it. If I start looking at letters from friends, well, the problem is that I may give a break to someone because they have friends, and someone who doesn't have friends doesn't get that break. Produce evidence that she would qualify for departure because she has for a mental disorder. I think I find they've proven she has PTSD, which is a recognized mental disorder, and is unrelated to substance abuse or addiction, and that she is amenable to treatment. So I do find she would qualify for that departure. On your second one, the capacity of the defendant to appreciate the criminal nature of the conduct, I don't find there was sufficient evidence to prove that departure. There was no indication that she ever did not understand what she was doing, or that shooting at a person would be against the law, or that she couldn't conform with the law in any way. As a matter of fact, she seemed to be, prior to the shooting, calling the police. So it didn't appear to be any situation where her capacity was impaired in any way. I don't find there's evidence that the victim was the initiator, willing participant, aggressor, or provoker of the incident. Otherwise, although she was knocking loudly in this case, there was no real attempt to get in the residence. She kept asking her to come outside. So I don't find that that departure ground has been met. Despite the existence of one legitimate departure reason, even if she did qualify for the other two departure reasons, I would not depart in this case, because I find that the aggravated nature of this case in this offense, and the harm inflicted outweighs the mitigation or the departure when I weigh the totality of the whole case. So I find that the seriousness of the offense outweighs any legal departures that could be applied in this case. I'm primarily looking at the harm inflicted upon not only the victim, who of course lost her life, but her family. She has 4 children, all of whom were present during the offense or somewhere in the general vicinity, or at least home. It certainly will have a traumatic impact on their lives for the rest of their lives. They'll live their whole lives without their mother, which I think is a very significant harm inflicted upon them by Ms. Lorincz. When I look at the nature of the offense, I find that the shooting was completely unnecessary in this case. Ms. Lorincz was behind the door was locked. She had already called law enforcement. They were en route. She knew they were en route. She was in a relatively safe position. For some reason, she went into her room and found a gun. She could have stayed in the room and put another locked door between her and Miss Owens, but she came back out, put herself in front of the door, and at the time she fired the gun through the door, she was safe. Miss Owens was simply, although she was clearly banging loudly and was probably very angry over the whole situation, it appears to be she was mostly demanding that Miss Lorincz come outside, which would indicate she had no indication of coming inside the house. So when Miss Lorincz fired the gun through the door, she did so knowing a person was directly on the other side of the door. And she knew that person wasn't a burglar, she wasn't a robber, she wasn't a rapist. She knew she was probably upset about the interaction with the kids, but she had arguments with her before, and no real harm came other than, I guess, a sign was thrown at her, a paper sign. And that's when she decided to shoot. I find that the shooting, when I listened to every aspect of the trial and every aspect of sentencing here, it's the facts don't rise to a murder charge, but they are very aggravated manslaughter. Because this case, the shooting was based, I find, more on anger than fear. Weigh it out, and believe me, I find that she's a victim of child sex abuse was a significant mitigating factor, and she has no criminal record, which is also a significant factor. However, we also have a tremendous harm inflicted upon this family and the victim's family. So, what I'm going to do in this case is she being adjudicated guilty of manslaughter with a firearm, in order to serve 25 years in the Department of Corrections. Credit for 538 days, $100 cost of prosecution, $100 fine, court cost. Good luck to you, ma'am. You have 30 days to appeal. Is the defense requesting the appointment of public defender for purposes of appeal?
Yes, sir. Just a few more things I want to put on the record. There was never an offer by the state. The state had asked us to make any reasonable offers. Ms. Lorincz chose not to do that, just for the record. Okay. We also did not file a stand your ground motion for strategic purposes. That was also discussed with Ms. Lorincz as well. Just wanted to put that on the record. That's it, Judge.
I will appoint the public defender for purposes of appeal. Good luck to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Judge. To be excused.
Have a very nice day. Thank you. You're bringing my office.